Hi, I'm Dr. Allen from Jones Animal Hospital. Welcome to Vet Visits. Today we have a talk about something that we don't really like to think about, but I think it's very, very important for every pet owner to put some thought into, especially as their pets get older. We're all going to be faced with end-of-life decisions with our pets. I have Kitty here. She's one who lives at my house, and for the record, she's nowhere near end-of-life decisions, but she's just donating some time here today. End-of-life decisions are important, and people ask me almost on a daily basis in my practice, how do I know when my pet's at the end of its life? How do I know when it's time to make a decision about euthanasia? All of us hope that our pets will just go quietly in their sleep and they'll live to be a very old age, and we'll wake up one morning and they didn't wake up, they've died peacefully during the night. And occasionally that'll happen, but unfortunately, with us giving our pets better and better care and better nutrition, better housing, all the things that go into making a long and healthy life, our pets are living very long times, sometimes 15, 16, 17 years. And along with that comes a lot of the infirmities that go with old age, whether it's in people or in pets. And people say, well, how do I know when it's time to make a decision? Well, occasionally it's very clear cut, that there's an obvious life-threatening condition that we can't do anything about, and it's just as black and white as it can be that, now is the time. Some types of cancer are like that, sometimes trauma winds up being like that. There's some issues that it's just very clear. But more often than not, there's a pretty big gray area. And what I tell people as they approach that time with their pets, and dogs and cats is kind of the same sort of things you look at. Can you answer yes or no to a group of questions? The first question is, do they still eat and drink? That's kind of basic, but are they still eating and drinking okay? Second is, how are their eliminations? Can they go to the bathroom? Can they urinate? Can they defecate without soiling themselves, without excessively soiling the environment where they are? Some people have more tolerance for that in their homes than others, but typically if the pet can still get up and go and urinate and defecate without soiling itself, you're still okay there. Can they still move around in fair comfort? I'm not talking about chasing the frisbee and doing all the things they did when they were young, but can they get up out of their beds and kind of walk around the room a little bit, get to their food and water bowls, go to the bathroom and still be relatively comfortable? And then the last thing I ask people to think about is, do they still have fairly decent interactions with the family? Now, you may can answer yes to all the first questions, but if the pet just lays there in its bed all the time, never gets up, never has any interactions with the family, that becomes a quality of life type issue too. Had a client in the other day who said his old vet had said, what he told people is, can your pet still do its 3 favorite things? You know what your pet's 3 favorite things are. Is it still doing its 3 favorite things? If you start to question yourself about, can it still do its 3 favorite things? Or is it still eating and drinking okay? Or can it still get up and move about relatively comfortably? Are we still having some quality interactions with the family? If you can't give a good, clear yes to those questions, you're probably approaching the end of things. And there's differences of opinions in people about what's appropriate and what's not as far as the end of life goes. There's a lot of people who say, well, I just want the animal to pass at home, and that's what they want. Sometimes you do have animal suffering, and we don't have to let that happen. And humane euthanasia is certainly an option for some people. In the practice where I am, we often will give them a tranquilizer to kind of settle them down a little bit, make things a little calmer. And then we give an injection in the vein that's basically an overdose of an anesthetic. They just gently go to sleep. They stop breathing and their heart stops. And it takes just a couple of minutes for all that to happen. And it's, in almost all cases, a very peaceful passing of the pet. It's always sad. There's no way around it always being sad, but what I ask people to remember is that's the last kind thing that you can do for your dog or cat. It's a humane decision. It's ending their suffering and helping them to be comfortable. It's also helping them to keep their dignity. Your pet has its dignity, and many times at the end of life they lose their dignity. Over the years, I've had lots of people come back and say, you know, I think I waited too long to make that decision. I don't think I've ever had anybody come back and say, you know, I think I went too soon. So my own personal experience, I've seen a lot more regrets from people who waited too long about euthanasia. And as they got to thinking about it after the fact, they realized that they had let their pet lose its dignity. They had unfortunately let it suffer, not realizing it, just because they wanted to keep him just a little bit longer. It's a hard decision. It's a very personal decision. It's a decision only the pet owner themselves can make, the one who actually lives with the pet day in and day out. Your veterinarian can certainly help you and give you guidance and help you with that decision. I have had people I referred to mental health professionals because sometimes it is a really agonizing decision to have to come to. You're not alone. Lots of people have made that decision through the years, and most people have friends who've had lifelong relationships with pets they've had to let go, and they can comfort and help you as you make that decision too. End-of-life decisions are hard. There's some things you can think about to help you to know when it's time. You know, talk with your veterinarian, talk with other family members who are around the pet. It needs to be a decision the whole family makes together. It's not just one person's decision. One person shouldn't have to shoulder that burden by themselves. Pets are a wonderful addition to our lives. Unfortunately, their lifespans are much shorter than ours, and most people through the course of their life will have to make end-of-life decisions for their pets several times. Do it with a lot of thought and kindness, and you'll make the right decision. Thanks for listening. I'm Dr. Allen from Jones Animal Hospital. This is Vet Visits.